I know you wanted to break down some other stuff, so I'll toss it back to you.
Yeah. So there's quite a few strategies here all at play. So first of all, do not come up with the idea of a Me Too item that everybody else is selling, that you have to differentiate yourself and you have to define who your customer is and then create your listing accordingly, especially with images. So number one. Number two, do not pick an item with the idea that you're going to sell it cheaper than everybody else and make money. The idea is not to have an item that has a real low price point. So pick an item that's going to be a reasonably high price point. And then when you're launching it, offer it at a heavy discount, but never again at that rate. And then, increase your price and ultimately settle down. So in other words, do not let the shoppers think that, oh, they always offer some kind of discount. I don't have to buy it today. So when they see that price that is discounted at the rate that they like, they should think that I better grab this now because these guys don't offer this kind of rate normally. Would that be right? Create that perception.
Yes, but I also don't think most consumers, 80, 90%, let's say, shop by looking at price history, right? So there are many tools out there, Smart Scout, Camel, and Keepa, you could name another dozen that all track price. I do not believe consumers are tracking price. There's probably some exceptions to that. There's probably that one item, like for example, I buy a lot of shocks, I think is how it's called. These things you put on your ears like this, and I go around and I listen to audibles, right? Mm-hmm. And I try and get my steps in. I have that on a tracked price. Why? Because I wear out my shocks and I need to buy them once a year, and I know I'm always going to be buying that brand. But if I was shopping for something I need for tomorrow's barbecue, I'm not tracking a price for that, right? I'm just going to buy whatever's lowest price that meets my quality of definition. So consumers don't necessarily by default shop by price comparison against yourself. They compare you against the competitors. So I like to impact that to point out that nobody's going to remember that you were at a lower price before. Mm-hmm. And even if you were, they're not going to expect you to go back down. So you don't need to worry about dynamic pricing.
Okay.
But I bet you that Gorilla Grips item we looked at probably lowers its price every time it loses its bestseller badge, and knows that if it gets that bestseller badge back, that is worth another 5 points on conversion.
Right. There is one category of products though, Stephen. Tell me what you think. But that's where the consumers will not necessarily track, but remember the price. Consumables. If they are buying the same item over and over, they say, wait a minute, I usually pay $50 for this. I'm now it's at 38. I better grab it. Right?
Yes, and consumables are most affected by the inflation as well, right? And so, if we look at every day, I log into whether it's any social media platform ever, you see a meme or a post about fast food prices are up 100% in 4 years. Like, it's insane. Like, where's all the value? Like, people are going to see fast food as a luxury item now, which is crazy. That's pretty much the elimination of the middle class, by the way. So we've got rich and poor now purchasing products on Amazon. Sidestepping that, though, the consumer is going to remember that price because they can go to their orders, but that's still a lot more work, right? And if they've already purchased from you, they've got you on subscribe and save, I don't think they're going to spend more than a hot minute on that.
Yeah.
Now, but when you're making the acquisition, though, I think the acquisition is where price comparison is most impacted, right? And when I'm comparing those toilet papers and I'm like, do I want quilted bears or do I want the scratchy stuff? I think there is some branding at play on certain consumables that can make some headwinds. But overall, I think that the consumer is just going to say, what is the fastest thing I can do to add my cart in 30 seconds and go back to my workday? Oh my gosh, Don't have a tissue box on my desk right now. Click purchase, done. Right? I don't think there's a lot of research involved in consumable purchasing. They might spend 30 seconds looking at the search page, ignore the first 2 ads, and click on the first organic or fourth organic listing. But they're not going to scroll through 3 pages and say, "Oh, I get my cost per sheet is 2 cents on this tissue and it's 3 cents on that one." I don't think that's going on these days.